What secret has been eating you up inside and you just need to get off your chest anonymously? Story 1. When I was 22, my dad passed away and I was absolutely devastated. Recently, my mother revealed to me that he wasn't my biological father. Some other man was. Someone who is still alive, married to the same woman he was with when he had an affair with my mother. He and I have connected and hit it off. I genuinely care about him and we've built a bond. I also found out I have 2 siblings who had no idea I existed, and his wife didn't know about me either. When they all found out, everything fell apart. Now his wife has made him pull back from our relationship. My siblings haven't reached out to me at all. I was a secret for so long, and now just by existing, I feel like a burden to his family. I have a wonderful family of my own and had an amazing dad who died far too soon. But I feel guilty for being interested in getting to know my biological father. It's been confirmed he is. I also feel an overwhelming shame and guilt for the chaos this has caused in his family's life. I know none of this is my fault, but I can't help feeling bad. I miss my dad. I want this new father in my life. I have my incredible siblings, but I want to know these new siblings too. This whole situation has shaken my identity to its core, and now I feel like I'm grasping at pieces of myself. I feel so lost, so hurt, so completely overwhelmed by it all. Story 2. I cut off contact with my mother at the beginning of last year. After that, she and her husband began a campaign of sending me abusive and harassing messages. They used different phone numbers and created new social media profiles every time I blocked them. Honestly, I feel like I had a malignant tumor removed. The truth is, I'm relieved not to be burdened with caring for her anymore or cleaning out her hoarder house when she's gone. Story 3. Just make sure you don't lose your child anyway because you stayed. My dad is slowly but surely losing me and my siblings because he insists on staying married to my mother, who is a toxic person. It's gotten to the point where, although we love him, it's not worth enduring her presence in our lives. As much as I care for my dad, I've lost respect for him because of how much he allows her to mistreat him. My best friend doesn't have any love for her father, mostly because he stayed with her mother, who constantly berates him and blames him for every issue in their family. They should have separated years ago. Because they didn't, her mom takes out her bitterness by ruining the father-daughter relationship. Depending on your situation, leaving a bad relationship might actually save your connection with your child. Edit. I'll also say that my best friend, my siblings, and I have all struggled with relationships as adults because of the poor examples we saw growing up. Kids notice more than you think. Their dysfunction was obvious and confusing, and it impacted the way we approach relationships. Sometimes, staying for the kids does more harm than good. Story 4. I fell in love young. We had a rocky relationship for about 2 years, but we kept talking even after breaking up for good. Eventually, we decided to cut contact altogether. It took me 6 years, give or take, to get over her. The connection we had is something I've been searching for ever since. It's hard to imagine anyone knowing me that well or feeling the same way I felt about them. It was intoxicating and toxic in hindsight. She consumed me completely. For years, I wandered through life without letting myself truly move on. Meanwhile, she moved on. Recently, I found her on Facebook, and we started talking again. For a moment, the spark was back. I felt alive, but I quickly realized something. The girl I loved no longer exists, and the person I was when I loved her is also gone. We've become different people, and there's no way we could ever recapture what we had. She's built a new life, while I've been stuck living in the past. That realization crushed me. I already struggle with depression, and this made it worse for a while. But eventually I understood that clinging to the past only wastes the present. She moved on, found love, and chased dreams we once talked about as kids. It hurt, but it woke me up. I wanted the same for myself. I had to let go of her and the memory of what we had in order to move forward. The past is the past. For the first time in nearly a decade, I've started putting myself out there. Letting go has been painful, but I haven't felt this alive in years. If you're struggling to move on, know that you can find love and happiness again, but you have to take the first step, even if it's hard. Edit. I didn't expect this to resonate with so many people, but I'm glad my story has helped. A lot of you have asked how I started putting myself back out there, so here's what worked for me. I realized I was stuck in the past because I wasn't creating a new present for myself. I believed nothing could ever be better, so I didn't try. But when I decided to move forward, I understood that no one was coming to save me. I had to put myself out there, meet new people, and figure out who I was without her. For so long, my identity revolved around being lovelorn, which made me unpleasant to be around and left me isolated. Talking to her again also helped. At first, it felt like relapsing on a drug, but as we talked, I realized she didn't think of me the way I thought of her. To her, I was a footnote, while she was the title of my story, and even my memory of her didn't match who she is now. The past is a beautiful place, but we can't live there. If you redirect the effort you spend holding on into something new, you'll discover how strong you really are. Story 5. A little over a year ago, I broke up with my partner of 5 years. Just a few months before that, I had asked her father for his blessing and was preparing to buy a ring. I was heartbroken for a long time. I felt depressed and convinced I would never find someone who would truly love me for who I am ever again. I even tried to rekindle the relationship, but it didn't work out. It's okay if you don't want to find anyone right now. Use this time to focus on yourself. Work on self-improvement, whether it's through exercising, starting a new hobby, or trying something exciting and different. This is your opportunity to create a version of yourself that you're happy with and proud of. I spent months doing just that, and it completely changed me. I'm a better person now, so much more confident than I was a year ago. Once I felt ready, I started dating again. I joined Tinder, and although I wasn't great at it at first, I got the hang of it. Over the summer, I went on 2 to 3 dates a month. Some people weren't what I was looking for, and others I liked but didn't click with. Still, those experiences taught me how to navigate dating again and helped me understand what I want in a relationship. By the end of the summer, I finally felt like I had moved on from my ex. A couple of months ago, I met someone who caught my attention. We went on a few dates, and she reminded me of how I felt at the beginning of my 5-year relationship. Last month, we made it official, and I couldn't be happier. But none of this would have been possible without the time I spent working on myself and re-entering the dating world at my own pace. Story 6. I've struggled with suicidal thoughts for the past decade, and over time they've become more frequent and intense. My loved ones are aware of this, but I stopped self-harming 5 years ago, and after losing 2 very close people to suicide, it's considered off the table. I've reassured them countless times that it's not an option for me, and for a while I even believed it myself. But for the past month, the thoughts have changed. They've become practical. I've created a detailed to-do list to get my affairs in order and make things as easy as possible for my partner. I've updated my beneficiaries, logged account access details, just in case, and even decided on a method and time frame. The only thing I haven't settled on is where. On my better days, I've tried to reach out. I only really hang out with one friend, but when I needed her and said, "I just really need a friend right now," she didn't bring it up again, and neither did I. I tried to open up to my partner, but he said something hurtful, which shut me down completely. I've never felt more isolated. If I don't tell anyone, I think I'll go through with it. It's what I want, but I don't want to hurt the people I care about. The problem is, no one is listening. I don't think I'm going to see another birthday. Story 7. I have no idea how I'm going to afford my bills next month, and I get super anxious whenever someone mentions Christmas because of it. I worked so hard to get into medical school, but once I was there, things completely fell apart. Multiple deaths in my immediate family, poor coping skills, and my mental health in shambles. Eventually, I made the one decision I swore I'd never make. I dropped out. I left med school and abandoned my dream because I knew I'd never find a healthy balance while staying there. Since then, I've been working low-paying jobs while trying to figure out my plan B. It's been terrifying to consider a different path, and I've been overwhelmed with feelings of anger, sadness, desperation, loneliness, and worthlessness. I felt like I tripped at the finish line, but I'm working hard to turn things around. I've cleaned up my act, started running, week 8 of C25K, began taking care of myself like I actually matter, and blasted my resume out everywhere. Finally, I was offered an amazing job at a great company. It's the first opportunity I've felt genuinely excited about since leaving med school. The only downside is that the job doesn't start until the end of January. Until then, I'm stuck working my current low-paying job, selling off household items, and doing side gigs just to make ends meet. This holiday season is going to be so stressful. I feel awful that I can't get my husband a gift for Christmas to thank him for all his patience while I've been figuring things out. Or my sister, who's been endlessly supportive through it all. They're understanding, and I know we can celebrate with gifts another time, but it still sucks. This whole year has been terrible, but I'm hopeful that with the new year, everything will finally start to get better. Story 8. I started my period when I was about 9, and as you can imagine, 9-year-olds aren't exactly the most hygienically responsible people. On top of that, my mom rarely put me in clothes that fit or that I felt comfortable in. I was a weird kid. I hated having underwear touch me. Combine that with the fact that tampons were basically unheard of in my family, and you've got a recipe for some awkward situations. Like the time I had to wear a huge pad while out in the public wearing shorts. Nothing was sitting where it was supposed to be, and I was so uncomfortable. I fidgeted the whole time we were grocery shopping, and then, all of a sudden, I wasn't uncomfortable anymore. When we got home, I realized my pad was gone. It had fallen out somewhere in the middle of a Kroger aisle. I've never told anyone about this. Story 9. I think I need to talk to a professional about my mental health, but I just can't afford it right now. I'm glad more celebrities and athletes are speaking up about mental health. It's important, but of course, they can afford the help they need. I can't. I don't have the thousands or even hundreds of dollars it would take to see a psychiatrist or even do a sleep study to address my nightmares. What do things like that even cost? My insurance is the bare minimum, the cheapest plan I could get to avoid a tax penalty. I don't mind paying a $40 copay for a general doctor's visit, but this would require a specialist, which I'm sure comes with much higher costs. Is it a pay-per-visit kind of thing, or do you pay for the entire treatment up front? I need to do some research, but I'm curious if anyone else has dealt with this. Story 10. My girlfriend broke up with me about a week and a half ago. We had already broken up once for a day or two a few weeks before, but we reconciled. After that, things seemed to be going well. I met her grandparents, who she said liked me more than any other guy they'd met. For a while, we had some really great moments. Then one night, I went over to her place to sleep over after not seeing her for a few days. She had this blank look on her face. I gently touched her cheek and asked if something was wrong, and that's when she said the words I'd been dreading. I think we should break up. She gave me a few smaller reasons for why she felt that way, but ultimately, she said she didn't see me as someone she could spend her life with. Then she asked me to leave. I've been heartbroken ever since. I've been through this kind of pain before, and I know I should have just left it alone. But I love her with everything in me, so I couldn't help but reach out after about a week. She answered my call and repeated everything she had said before. I broke down again. Earlier today, I texted her, hoping for something different, but it was more of the same, except this time, she yelled at me. She told me that trying to reconcile was self-centered and a huge turnoff. She said she doesn't want to be with me, ever. I know I should have stayed no contact from the start, but my emotions got the better of me. It was her birthday yesterday, and I wanted so badly to spend it with her. Now I'm left picking up the pieces and trying to find happiness again. It hurts so much to hear someone say they don't love you anymore. Story 11. A couple of weeks ago, I met someone at an airport in Europe. Due to delays and cancellations, we ended up spending a lot of time together that evening. I felt an incredibly rare connection, something that doesn't happen every day or even every decade. I've never felt that way about someone I just met. It was so easy and natural to be around him. He understood my jokes, I understood his, and everything just felt right. As silly as it sounds, I miss him and being around him more than I care to admit. He's married, lives in a different city, in a different country. I don't even know his last name, only his very common first name. Since he's married, nothing happened, and I didn't want to be that person. But for some reason, I can't get him out of my head. I regret not getting the chance to say goodbye after the plane landed. We weren't sitting close to each other, so we went separate ways at border control. He to catch his connecting flight, and I stayed in the city. All I wanted to say was that I was glad we met. Story 12. I still think about an ex-girlfriend I had a relationship with 6 years ago. It was a short relationship, just a couple of months, but it turned out to be the one that impacted me the most. It's hard to condense this story, but here's a brief version. I had a promising, wonderful relationship that ended very suddenly for no clear reason. She used to tell me every day how lucky she felt to know me. She wrote letters to herself saying things like, "I never knew what it meant to have a soulmate. I didn't even believe in any of that. And then I met you." She told me she would wake up in tears some mornings because she couldn't believe she had found me. I brought her home to meet my parents, and they thought she was amazing. She always talked about the future, as though I'd be part of it. Then almost overnight, she changed. One afternoon, she became cold and distant, like her feelings had vanished. It was like talking to a completely different person. There was no discussion, no attempt to figure out what had happened, just a sudden, haunting sense of certainty on her part. She ended the relationship then and there. A couple of days later, she wrote me a letter saying, "You're an amazing person, but I just wasn't ready for you yet," and that she felt like I was someone she was meant to meet 2 years later, not now. I still don't know if she meant anything she wrote in that letter. After that, she cut off all communication, leaving me in the dark and utterly confused. It messed me up. When a breakup has a reason, it's easier to process. But this one didn't. The short duration of the relationship made it worse. In longer relationships, you can look back on the bad times and reassure yourself it wouldn't have worked out. In this case, there's nothing like that, just a perpetual lack of closure. I'm beginning to wonder if I'll ever truly forget about her. Story 13. I realize it's late and this might not reach anyone, but I'll post it anyway. I'm a 23-year-old adult, and I feel like I'll never be able to communicate meaningfully with another human being. No matter how hard I try, it always comes out wrong. If I don't try, nothing happens, and if I do try, I look so serious while focusing that people assume I'm angry or unapproachable. I feel like I don't fit in anywhere. It seems like everyone else somehow learned these social skills effortlessly, but for me, everything falls apart, and I end up looking like a bumbling idiot. Don't get me wrong, I do have friends, but it feels like they only became my friends because, for some inexplicable reason, they chose to talk to me first. Maybe they were forced to spend time with me because of work or school, and they happened to catch me on a good day. Once I let my guard down, we became friends, but it never feels like I was the one who made it happen. Even with close friends or family, I feel awkward, especially if it's been a while since we last talked. I don't know what to say or how to act. It's pathetic. I struggle to hold a meaningful conversation, even with people I've known forever. When I do talk, it feels shallow, like I'm just parroting jokes I've seen online or dragging out conversations about the few shared interests we have. Once that's done, I run out of things to say. Now, most of my small group of friends is scattering for various reasons, and I'm terrified I'll end up completely alone. I wish connecting with people wasn't so hard. I'm scared to be alone, but I'm also not sure I have the energy to keep trying. Story 14. This thread is 8 hours old and it's 3 a.m., so I'm hoping this will get lost in the mix. I'm experiencing my first bouts of depression that are truly changing how I see my life. I've battled depression on and off for most of my life, like so many others have. It's always been a cycle. Bad times come, then they pass, and eventually they come back again. But recently something feels different. For the first time, I've started wondering if it's all worth it. I'm not in danger or anything like that, absolutely not. It's just that I've started to think that nothing really matters in the grand scheme of things. I've known this and accepted it before, but I always reminded myself that the good times would eventually come back around. Now I'm questioning if the good times are worth enduring all the bad. It's like a seed of doubt has been planted in my mind. I'm fine right now, but I can't help wondering if years from now, I'll be able to brush these thoughts off as easily as I can today. Story 15. The day before I was supposed to start my junior year of high school and my college classes, which I worked so hard to qualify for, my parents decided to take me on a trip to Somalia. Now, we've been stuck here for 3 months because of a series of mistakes that could have been easily avoided if they had just listened to me at any point. My entire educational career is ruined. On top of that, my dad failed to drop my college classes before the deadline, so I now have 3 failed courses on my record. Apparently, these grades can't be contested. What makes it even worse is that my parents refuse to take responsibility for their actions. Instead, they get angry whenever I bring it up and act like this is all my fault, even though I had absolutely no control over anything during this trip. The school year that was supposed to be my best ever has been completely destroyed, and now I'll be spending my birthday here too. Story 16. In early February a couple of years ago, this guy started messaging me online. At first I rejected him because he lived a few hours away, and I didn't see the point in talking to someone so far away. But eventually I gave him a chance. We ended up talking nonstop for hours every single day for a week. Then we decided to meet in person. He traveled 4 hours to my city, which he'd never been to before. In fact, he'd barely left his hometown before that. I'll admit, I already had feelings for him before we met, even after just a week of talking. But when we finally saw each other for the first time, sparks flew instantly. He even asked me to be his girlfriend that same day. Not even 2 months later, he went abroad with my family. Now, it's been almost 3 years, and we've bought our own house and are planning to get a puppy together. He's my perfect match. I know I'll never meet anyone I'm more compatible with in my life. Before meeting him, I had low self-confidence and hated my life. But because of him, I see the world in an entirely new light. I can even leave the house without wearing makeup now, which is a huge deal for me. Love changes everything. Hang in there, everyone. Story 17. A few weeks ago, I pulled out of my driveway, drove a few feet, and a stray cat fell out from where the engine is, and I hit it. I didn't know it was there. I didn't mean to, but my kids were in the car. They didn't realize what happened, so I just kept driving. We've been through such a traumatic year, and all I could think was that if I kept going, they wouldn't know, and they'd be fine. But if I stopped, they'd be screaming, crying, and heartbroken for weeks. They're still so fragile right now. As I drove away, I saw a car coming the opposite way stop for the cat. I feel so much shame for not stopping myself. I wonder what happened to it, if it survived. I'm glad someone was a better person than I was, but that doesn't take away the guilt I feel about how I handled it. If I'd been alone, I would have stopped, but I couldn't bring myself to upset my kids after everything they've been through. Now all I can think is that they have a garbage human being for a mom. Story 18. I am a mistake. I'm an emotionally damaged, clinically depressed, autistic man who doesn't really have a place in the world. I watch the rest of you, the normal, functional people, succeed in so many ways, and it's painful to stand on the sidelines, wondering if I'll ever experience even a fraction of what you all do. I'm stuck between two worlds, not fully disabled, but not entirely able-bodied either. I don't fit in with either group, which makes me feel even more isolated. I'm approaching 40 and haven't managed to accomplish much of anything. I can barely hold down a job due to my social anxiety, corporate procedures I can't keep up with, and how long it takes me to learn things compared to others. I rely on medication to stay functional, bottle after bottle just to keep my mood stable. It's frustrating, but without it, I can't get through life. I'm the oldest sibling, but I have nothing to show for it. No family of my own, no girlfriend, no stable job. I have maybe 1 or 2 friends I talk to online, and then there's my art. Everyone with autism seems to have something their brain is wired to, and for me it's visual arts and stories. Movies, comics, animation, screenwriting, storyboarding, all of it. If I'm not creating my own, I'm researching it endlessly. It's a compulsion I can't escape. If I try to ignore it, I fall apart. I hate that it has such a grip on me. I grew up in poverty and am still poor. I'm terrible with money, and I've never figured out why I'm still here. I don't function properly. I've never been able to succeed or hold down a job for more than a year. As for romance, I've given up. I'm too emotionally damaged, and I don't trust people. I want to succeed, not for myself, but so I'm not a burden on my family anymore. I want to help them, but I've been out of work for years, acting as a caretaker for an elderly relative who needs watching. As I've gotten older, I can't handle being around groups of people anymore. It's exhausting and overwhelming, draining me completely. I miss out on things constantly. I try to plan ahead, but fail every time. Life feels like a strange, awkward journey I can't keep up with. At this point, I'm convinced I'm just a mistake. Someone who should have checked out a long time ago. I know I don't have it as bad as others, and I'm lucky to have a family that puts up with me. But that doesn't change how I feel about myself. I've been holding this in for a long time. It feels a little better to let it out. Story 19. I'm 16, and I feel incredibly lonely. I keep bouncing in and out of depression. I'm socially anxious, and I think I might have ADHD. My sleep is all over the place. I either get 2 hours a night or sleep for 20 hours straight. I can't bring myself to clean my room, take care of myself, or do my homework. Because I haven't been keeping up with my schoolwork, I'm now ineligible for my school's bowling team, which was one of the few things I actually enjoyed. I'm so frustrated with myself for not doing the work, but I just can't seem to get it done. I started vaping, and I'm mad at myself for that too. I missed Thanksgiving this year because I worked from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., and as soon as I got to my grandparents' house, I fell asleep. Thanksgiving is my second favorite holiday after Christmas, and I was really looking forward to it, but I slept through the whole thing. I have feelings for my best friend, but she's told me she's not interested. On top of that, she constantly talks about her current boyfriend. I can't bring myself to ask anyone else out, and I'm just stuck here, scrolling Reddit instead of doing anything to fix my problems. Story 20. This is going to be long, but I don't have anyone else to tell this to. For the past few months, my life has been a cycle of work, classes, and lying in bed watching Netflix. I've tried to set small goals for myself, but I never actually follow through. I think it's this general sense of apathy that's kept me somewhat stable emotionally, until today. Today, I spontaneously started crying at work. I don't usually cry unless I'm stressed or upset, but this felt like my breaking point. When I got home, I couldn't even stand to see my family. My family has been a huge source of my unhappiness. My parents fought constantly when I was growing up, and after each fight, my father, who was already largely absent, would disappear, leaving my mother to take out her anger on me. I adored my dad. We were similar in so many ways, and I felt like he understood me. But when I was 9, he moved out completely. On my 10th birthday, I found out he had cheated on my mom with his secretary and even had a child with her. My mom spiraled after that. She was constantly angry and emotionally volatile. I understood why she was upset, but she became the target of my own anger and confusion. I had no one to talk to, so I directed all my frustration at her. I saw her as the reason my dad was gone and felt like she didn't care about me. She was always wrapped up in her own pain, and she never asked how I was doing. As the years went on, I learned to suppress my feelings and take care of myself. I did all the chores, managed my grades, and handled college prep on my own. I never asked for help because it always turned into a condescending lecture or an argument where my mom played the victim. I'm proud of what I've accomplished, but there's one thing I'll regret forever: the way I treated my sister. She's 6 years younger than me and doesn't remember much about our dad. While I was introverted and high-achieving, she was loud and carefree, which frustrated me. I wanted her to be more responsible, to be a better version of me, but I went about it the wrong way. I became verbally aggressive, like our mom, and tried to control her. I wanted to make her strong, so I called her names to toughen her up. Instead, I became my mother, and she became me, a victim of anger and resentment. I spoke to her today and apologized, but she told me she's not sure she can forgive me. I understand why. She's a better person than I am, and I hope she doesn't turn out like me. As for me, no one really cares. My mom is wrapped up in her own world, and my sister doesn't need me in her life anymore. My dad is distant, my friends are carefree rich kids who wouldn't understand, and my best friend has her own life. I thought I was getting better, but today proved otherwise. For years, I've neglected myself. I've never told anyone my full story. I've prayed for the strength to keep going so I could take care of my family and then die. But now I'm not sure I'll even make it another year. Despite all this, I still have dreams. I want to be strong and healthy. I want to achieve my goals, make more friends, and find someone who loves me. I want to graduate in 2 years, learn new languages, and be happy. Maybe it's finally time to take care of myself. Story 21. This just happened, and I need to get it off my chest. I decided to try a random app called Meet Me, where you can live stream yourself. After a lot of anxiety, I finally worked up the courage to go live. Just my luck, someone started watching who thought he recognized me and joined the stream via FaceTime. He immediately got aggressive, trying to convince me to hang out with him because the app showed my location. When I said, "It's late and I'm tired," he went on a rant, calling me a slut and saying things like school shootings happen because girls reject guys. He even said that if I were a good person, I'd care about making him feel better. Then he told me he hopes I get hit by a truck and raped, right after complimenting my eyes. I tried to screen record the conversation, but my microphone setting was off, so it didn't capture the audio. I know this guy obviously has issues, but the fact that he lives near me has my heart racing. It was a 15-minute conversation with someone I'm 99% sure is a psychopath based on his speech and behavior. I'm trying to push it out of my head, but I really hope I never run into him in person. Story 22. No one's going to see this, but it still feels good to say it, like shouting into the void and getting everything off my chest. For the past 2.5 years, I've had a friend I talk to daily. Lately, though, she's been distant, and it's wearing me down. I don't know if I should bring it up or just let the friendship fade, because it feels like that's what she wants. It hurts to know I'm the only one putting in any effort. She expects me to be there for her 24/7, but she's never there for me when I need her. It makes me wonder if I mean anything to her beyond being someone she can lean on when she's down, like a crutch or a drug. She comes to me crying about how her life is horrible, all while mine is falling apart around me. I feel so empty. We've both leaned on each other emotionally throughout our friendship, and we were so close for so long. But now it seems like she's moved on, and I'm not ready to let go. She's been one of the best friends I've ever had, even though I've known her for less time than some of my other friends. I just feel powerless, watching in pain as she moves on while I'm stuck here, hurting. If you made it through this, thank you for listening to my ramblings about my life falling apart. Story 23. Well, this thread has gone on long enough that I feel comfortable posting this. I feel lonely, not in the I'm alone kind of way, but in the I'm lonely in a crowd way. I have friends and people to hang out with. I even have 2 brothers I'd kill or die for without hesitation, but I still feel alone. I don't have anyone I can call when I want to share good or bad news. I don't have lifelong friends I can point to and say, they've been with me through it all, like so many people seem to have. I haven't had a best friend in over 18 years. I make friends easily, and I even get personal and deep with them. But nothing ever lasts. People always return to their own crew or their person, and I'm left drifting through life, isolated. Maybe I'm too open with people, or maybe I'm too guarded and scared to genuinely expose myself. Either way, I've resigned myself to the idea that I'll never find the close group of friends I've always wanted, much less a woman to spend my life with. I'll just keep floating from one person, one group, one place to another for the rest of my life. Story 24. School is so stressful and overwhelming that I procrastinate on my homework and end up even more stressed and overwhelmed. I already know I'm dropping out after this semester because the stress will kill me if I don't, but I still feel this pressure to keep my grades up in the meantime. Even though there's no point, I know I won't pass my biology class unless I score 80s or above on all the remaining tests. I haven't even started my communications project that's due Wednesday. I'm just sick of all of it. I'm already struggling with reasons to keep going, and school is definitely a contributing factor. But I can't kill myself because I've already paid for the semester, and I have to take my finals. I'm so stressed, it's killing me. Story 25. I really miss my ex, even though I know I deserve better. I did everything for him and for our relationship, but in the end, long distance, incompatibility, and different values won out. It's been almost a year since we broke up after a 10-month relationship. I recently reached out to say hello and ask if he wanted to catch up, but he ignored me. I'm mad at myself for caring so much. I care like this for every ex, and I hate that about myself because they tend to just move on and forget. Physically, he was my dream guy. He had great manners and was incredibly intelligent. He had a perfect GPA and all that, but he was terrible at communication and being affectionate in a relationship. He never gave me a birthday gift, never bought me flowers, and I had to beg him to call me on weekends. He never asked about my parents or friends. I know I could have handled asking him for more in a more mature way, but I was so tired of him not putting in any effort. I needed communication and emotional security, and he just couldn't give that to me. I kept asking for a breakup because I was so frustrated, but when he finally agreed one day and stopped answering my texts, I was blindsided. He used to call himself a bad boyfriend all the time, and I'd comfort him and tell him he wasn't, that he just needed to try harder. But honestly, he could have tried harder. Calling me once a week wasn't too much to ask. Texts every day weren't enough. I wanted to hear his voice, see his face on FaceTime. The yes was terrible too, but I never let him know. I always made him feel secure. But deep down, I think he knew. I was just too polite to say anything. I'm afraid I won't find someone who ticks as many boxes as he did, externally. But I'm realizing that being present in a relationship is far more important than having good manners or a great job. Thanks for giving me a space to say this. I've been beating myself up, feeling like I wasn't good enough, even though I know I was the better one in the relationship. Story 26. During my first semester of college, my parents forced me to take 18 credit hours because I already had a lot of credits from high school and had always done well academically. In high school, I graduated with honors in the top 1% of a class of 550. I was in leadership positions for multiple extracurriculars, and people would tell me they expected me to become president, a lawyer, or a business executive someday. That's part of why this is so embarrassing to admit. That semester, I was also working 25 hours a week and commuting an hour to and from school every day. Most days I left at 7 a.m. and didn't get back home until 10 p.m., exhausted and hungry, with homework still to do. My parents would yell at me for not doing things like washing a few dishes or taking out the trash. By the end of the semester, my depression and anxiety were overwhelming. Therapy and medication weren't helping much. I felt like I was falling apart, but my parents didn't take it seriously. My mom told me I needed to get my ish together, join the military, or get the F out of her house. She dismissed my mental health, saying everyone has depression and still has to work. I finished the semester with a 2.89 GPA. My parents were furious, but considering I completely gave up in November, skipping homework and not studying for finals, I thought I did as well as I could. Grades were C, B, B, A, A. When January came around, I knew I couldn't go back. My mom was forcing me to create a schedule that prioritized her convenience over my well-being, and I wasn't ready for another semester with 18 credit hours. I knew if I stayed in that house, I'd eventually try to kill myself again. A week before the semester started, I withdrew from school and moved out in just 2 hours. My friend helped me load everything into her car. When my dad got home, I told him I was leaving, and he told me I'd fail because I was lazy and couldn't handle hard work. I left in tears. It was the hardest decision I've ever made. Afterward, my depression got worse. I was committed for 5 days and almost fell into a coca addiction. but my friend helped pull me out of it. I was broke but stayed with my boss, who understood my situation and let me live close to work for free. People around me, peers and coworkers, knew some of what was going on, but no one brought it up. When people asked how school was going, I lied and said it was fine. Even strangers, like customers at my waiter job, would ask if I was in school and what I was studying, and I'd lie because I was embarrassed. Things are better now. I'm moving into an apartment next week. I took an intercession class this winter, and I'm going back to school full-time in the fall. I even received a scholarship. I'm much happier now, and I'm working on finding better coping mechanisms. I'm planning to start therapy again in the next few months. Story 27. My crush of 8 years stood me up and blocked me a few days ago. This is just another in a long line of girls who've shown interest in me, only to ghost me when I try to get closer. I'm the only one in my friend group who struggles to get into relationships. I've never been in one, and I'm embarrassed to tell them I've failed again after dozens of rejections. I feel guilty for being so upset because I'm only 22, and people always say, "Oh, you're still young. You have plenty of time." And they're right, but it still hurts. It hurts to be rejected so many times without even being given the dignity of a face-to-face conversation. I'm trying not to let bitterness or anger take over because I know it'll only make me less likable. But after years of watching my friends date, move in with their partners, and even get engaged, it's hard not to feel the pain. Story 28. I feel like I'm starting to give up on life. I'm really depressed. I've struggled with feelings of depression before, especially during my sophomore and junior years of high school, but they went away for a while. Now they're back, and worse than ever. My suicidal thoughts have also returned, and this time, they're not fleeting moments of despair. They're well-thought-out plans, complete with SUIC notes. The first time I dealt with this, I couldn't go through with it because my plan involved jumping in front of a train, and I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Now I've come up with a different plan to get a gun and shoot myself. But since I have to be 21 to buy a gun in my city, my backup plan, and now my only plan, is to hang myself. I've already researched how to do it, even calculating the fall needed for it to be instant. The only thing stopping me is the love I receive from my family and friends. I know my SUIC would devastate them. If it weren't for them, or if I thought they wouldn't miss me, I would have gone through with it weeks, maybe even months ago. I don't hate the world or other people. I hate myself, and I wish I were dead. There was a time when I wanted help, but I just couldn't bring myself to ask for it. Why? I don't know. I have amazing friends and the best parents anyone could ask for. If I told them, my parents would hold me, cry, and tell me everything would be okay. Then they'd find me a psychologist or psychiatrist immediately. They'd happily pay for treatment, no matter the cost, and move mountains to help me. My best friend is like a brother to me. I trust him with my life. He'd take a bullet for me. These are the kind of people I have in my life, and yet I can't bring myself to tell them how I feel. Maybe it's because they're so close to me. Maybe it's easier to talk about these things with strangers who don't know me and can't tell anyone else. I think I need a psychologist, maybe even a psychiatrist. Maybe I need medication, an antidepressant, to help me finally feel happy again. Maybe I need one to finally say the thing I haven't been able to say in years, that I love myself. Story 29. I want to talk about how much I love my daughter. I tried explaining it to other moms at book club once, thinking they'd feel the same way, but I realized that maybe they don't feel as strongly as I do. Watching her grow feels like watching a piece of my soul exist outside of my body. I want to protect her and shelter her, but I know I can't do that. She has to become a self-sufficient person. Watching her struggle and fail, even over something small, like opening a cereal box, hurts so much. I want to do everything for her, but more than that, I want her to know that I believe in her ability to do it herself. I want her to need me forever, but I also want her to know she doesn't actually need me. She's only 7. She's fierce, independent, strong-willed, a little stubborn, empathetic, and has an incredible sense of justice. I'm so damn proud of who she is and excited to see who she becomes. But every step in that direction feels like a step away from me, and it hurts. I love her more than I've ever loved myself or anyone else. Story 30. I've battled severe depression and anxiety my whole life. I'm 31 now and things haven't improved. I've seen specialists and am on high doses of 2 medications. They've numbed me to the point that I think about SUIC less often, but that's all they've done. I feel stuck in my career. I'm a massage therapist, and it's the only job I've ever enjoyed, but it pays terribly and my body can't handle the physical strain, even after trying different techniques. It's not sustainable. Changing careers isn't an option right now. My wife and I are trying to buy our first house, and I need the work history. Plus, my depression keeps telling me I'm not good at anything else, and my anxiety says I'll fail at any other job. I feel so weighed down, stuck in a life I can't escape. The only thing keeping me alive is my 17-month-old daughter. She's amazing to watch grow, and being with her brings me joy. But it's confusing, this mix of joy from her and disdain for myself. Story 31. Finding out that I'll recover from my neurological disorder left me feeling disappointed in a really messed up way. Earlier this year, I started having extreme nerve pain in one foot. Within weeks, it spread to both legs below the knee in my left hand. The pain was unbearable, and when I finally got treatment, the painful areas turned numb. I couldn't stand or walk properly. My balance was gone, and I felt completely drained. For the first time, my usually unsupportive family believed me. They offered help and support, which meant the world to me because they'd previously dismissed my digestive disorder as faking it for attention. A few weeks ago, I was diagnosed with a condition that will fully resolve in 12 to 18 months. Instead of feeling relieved, I felt disappointed. I know my recovery will make my family deny how bad it really was. They'll act like it wasn't as severe as I said. Part of me doesn't want to recover because this is the first time I've ever had their support. It's messed up, I know. I think it's time to go back to therapy and remind myself why I'm trying to distance myself from my family and focus on building relationships where my efforts are appreciated. Story 32. I've always felt like I'm that guy in every situation, the one everyone secretly finds annoying or frustrating, but doesn't say anything because they don't want to hurt my feelings. I never feel like I'm truly part of the group, and this feeling bleeds into every aspect of my life. I work as a digital artist, and I constantly fear that my boss is going to realize I'm a complete fraud and fire me. I also run Dungeons & Dragons games with different groups of players, but I can't shake the feeling that I'm boring them to death, and they're only participating to be polite because I ask them to. I feel like I'm wasting the time of everyone around me, like I'm a waste of space. I'm trying to shake this feeling, but it's hard. Story 33. This year I ended up dating a close friend's ex. They were only together for a month, but she completely cut both me and my boyfriend out of her life because of it. We all became friends around the same time a year ago. Back then, my boyfriend and I had feelings for each other at different points, but nothing happened. When they got together, I buried my feelings and moved on. After they broke up, I secretly wished I could date him, but I told him it could never happen because I knew she'd hate me for it. Eventually, though, my boyfriend and I developed mutual feelings for each other months after they split. We started dating, and while I enjoy every moment I spend with him, I can't shake the guilt. I feel like I broke the girl code. Deep down, it hurts to know that my happiness came at the expense of my friendship with her. Story 34. Now that all my friends have scattered across the country for college, I'm realizing that I'm terrible at maintaining meaningful relationships. Back in high school, a bunch of my friends, I'm 19 million, created a Facebook group chat. I still read the messages, but I almost never say anything. By the time I see a topic I'd want to chime in on, the conversation has already moved on, and I feel like I missed my chance. Outside of group chats, I'm awful at one-on-one texting too. For example, I worked with this girl over the summer, and on her last day, she left me a post-it note in my locker. She wrote that she was going back to school, but she enjoyed working with me and wanted to stay in touch, leaving her number. I texted her a couple of days later to let her know I found the note. She responded, "Glad to hear you found it." I asked what she'd been up to since her last day and whether she'd gone back to school yet. She never replied. That was 4 months ago, and we haven't texted since. I'd really like to develop a friendship with her, maybe even ask her out when she's back in town for winter break if it feels right. But now it feels weird to randomly text her after all this time. Even though I appreciate it when old friends randomly reach out to catch up, I still feel awkward doing it myself. Now that most of my friends are halfway across the country, I need to rely on texting to stay in touch. But I'm terrible at it. As a result, my social life is basically non-existent, except for the rare times my old friend group comes home for holidays. Story 35. Early February, a couple of years ago, this guy started messaging me online. At first, I rejected him because he lived a couple of hours away, and I thought it would be pointless to talk to him. But eventually, I gave him a chance. We ended up talking nonstop for hours every single day for a week before deciding to meet in person. He traveled 4 hours to my city, a place he'd never been before. In fact, he hadn't really left his hometown before that. I should also mention that I already had feelings for him, even after just a week, despite not having met him yet. When the day came, I was running late, and he started to worry that I had stood him up in a city he didn't know. But when we finally saw each other for the first time, sparks flew instantly. That very day, he asked me to be his girlfriend. Not even 2 months later, he went abroad with my family. Now it's almost our 3-year anniversary. We've bought our own house together and are planning to get a puppy soon. I've never met anyone I'm more compatible with, and I know I never will. Before I met him, I had low self-confidence and hated my life, but he changed everything for me. Because of him, I've started seeing the world as a beautiful place, and I can even leave the house without wearing makeup now. A huge deal for me. Love changes everything. Hang in there, everyone. Story 36. I didn't know I had a daughter until she was 6 years old. Every time I've tried to be part of her life, her mother takes me to court. It's been 3 years of non-stop litigation, one motion every 2 to 3 months across 2 states. Her mother has a free lawyer from the state, but I don't. It's clear she's doing this to keep me out of my daughter's life, because parenting time for me would mean less money for her. I don't have the resources to fight back. I don't even have money to pay for a lawyer anymore. Most of my paycheck is garnished, and I'm still paying off credit card debt from the lawyers I needed just to defend myself. Meanwhile, her mother put some other guy on the birth certificate for 6 years because he made more money at the time. I met my daughter for the first time in court, and now I don't even try to contact her because if I do, I'll end up back in court again. I'd have to drive across the country every other Sunday for a 30-minute visit. This situation has nothing to do with me and my daughter getting to know each other. It's all about money. The holidays are unbearable. I'm so sad, constantly thinking about what could have been. I can't sleep, I don't talk much, and I hate family gatherings. Nobody knows why I'm so lonely and irritated when everyone else is celebrating. I hate family pictures because someone's missing, and I feel it deeply, even if no one else does. Why can't I buy Christmas presents? I can't even explain without wanting to cry. Just breathing and existing feels like a success for me right now. But nobody knows. My life feels ruined. Story 37. I resent my sister. She's too young to remember the worst of the abuse we endured. She ignores our mother's continuing toxic behavior and issues. When our mom attempted suicide, my boyfriend and I handled everything while my sister couldn't leave her friends. She claims she wants to pursue a PhD in physics, but she's completely wrapped up in my mom's chaotic habits and decisions. My mom spoiled her while I had to work for everything. I worked during my senior night and prom, but my mom gave my sister money for expensive dresses and shoes while asking me for my paycheck every other week. My mom made me get a job at 15, even filling out applications for me, but never once asked my sister to work. I've been working ever since. When I was 16, my mom gave me $20 for the first time, and my sister took it, saying I didn't deserve it. Meanwhile, I struggled to get to work in college without support. My mom went to the same college but refused to help me with transportation because it was too much of a burden. I worked 80+ hours a week at Papa John's as an assistant manager, earning barely $8 to $9 an hour to pay for school and help my mom so she wouldn't be homeless. Recently, my mom asked me to move back to our home state so my sister could live rent-free with me and finish school. I offered my sister a rent-free room, access to my car, food, and even some money in exchange for helping with her niece, but she refused. She said she wanted a separate apartment or a mother-in-law suite. I'm scared I'll end up responsible for her when she fails to get her PhD or find a job. My mom even took me off her will, saying I can take care of myself, unlike my sister and half-brother. I shielded my sister from the worst of my mom's abuse, blocked her from beatings, and endured my mom's toxic relationships. But my sister dismisses it all, claiming I'm exaggerating. I've tried to be a good older sister, but I resent her. I don't feel bad about it, and honestly, I think I'm better off without her or my mom in my life. Story 38. My mother is about to lose her house and I can't help her. I'm barely keeping myself afloat despite making $75,000 a year. I'm terrified she'll end up living with me because I'm her closest relative. I'm only 28. I don't want to spend my younger years supporting and caring for her. Not yet, anyway. It's selfish and shy of me, I know, but I feel like it would destroy my chances of finding love or having a healthy, normal relationship. I'm already struggling with my own issues, including $40,000 in credit card debt that I'm slowly chipping away at. Adding the burden of supporting my mom would be the final nail in the coffin. I can't imagine anyone wanting to build a future with me if I'm living paycheck to paycheck while drowning in debt and supporting a parent who's been struggling for the last 3 years. Part of me hates that I feel this way. My mom's struggles aren't entirely her fault. She's had terrible luck. losing her job over a wrongful termination lawsuit after exposing embezzled state money, among other things. But I can't stop feeling resentful. Some of my debt comes from helping her over the past few years. She's on my phone plan, and a stalker situation led to extra expenses for a stolen phone replacement. She needs $4,000 right now, and I only have $500 in my emergency fund. I love her so much, but I just want to be free of her mess. As horrible as it sounds, I've caught myself wishing my grandparents, who have a lot of equity, would pass away so she'd inherit enough money to solve her problems and get out of my life. It's the most messed up thought eating away at me, and I feel so guilty for even thinking it. I just want her and her mess to go away, and I hate myself for it. Story 39. I'm currently with someone I have an insane connection with. He's only my second boyfriend, but I've never met anyone I get along with this well. We just work perfectly together. I don't believe in soulmates, but he's as close as it gets. I'm terrified of him dying. He's been smoking weed since he was 12. He's 28 now, and quit cigarettes only 2 years ago. He vapes now, which isn't great either. On top of that, he has an EDNOS, eating disorder not otherwise specified. It used to be anorexia, but now he doesn't intentionally starve himself. He just finds eating inconvenient. He's so skinny that I have to remind him to eat, or he'll lose weight quickly. I'm scared his internal organs are going to fail. I've voiced my concerns and he's been trying to get better for me, but it doesn't feel like enough. Every time I hear him cough, I get anxious, imagining how black his lungs must be. When I hear wheezing in his chest, it makes me nauseous with fear. My dad passed away from an autoimmune lung disease when I was 10, leaving my mom devastated. Ever since, I've had this intense anxiety about the people I love dying because they're not taking care of themselves. This anxiety feeds on my boyfriend's habits, and it terrifies me to think of ending up like my mom, losing the love of her life. He refuses to see a doctor, and even if he wanted to, it's nearly impossible to get an appointment nowadays. Part of me resents him for his substance use and his refusal to take better care of himself. I hate that he's putting me through this, and that it feels like he's actively leaving me in the worst possible way. Sometimes I wish I had never met him so I wouldn't have to deal with this anxiety and potential heartbreak. I've never talked to anyone about this. What can I do that I'm not already doing? I can't force him to make changes, but this anxiety consumes me. Story 40. My dad has paid for online classes that he insists I need for a better future. I understand why he wants this for me, and I want it too, but I just can't bring myself to care. Whenever he talks to me, it's about how life sucks and you just have to deal with it. That's the underlying theme of all his pep talks. He's been incredibly successful. He grew up with very little and is now highly respected in his field. Everywhere we go, he runs into someone he knows or who has worked with him. He wants to use his connections to get me a job in our town. I appreciate the effort, but I'm tired of following every step he's planned for me. I'm 24, and I have no idea what I want to do with my life, because he's always had my next move ready for me. Story 41. 6 months ago, my dad forced me out of the closet. Because he found out first, I was petrified to tell my mom. I knew she'd feel betrayed because I didn't tell her first. My plan was to come out to them both at the same time, but my dad had no regard for my feelings when he cornered me over the phone. I told my mom on Thursday, and she's been crying every day since. She keeps saying, "The plan we had for your future is gone. It's different now, and it's ruined." She's having a meltdown over grandkids, marriage, and feeling betrayed that I kept it a secret. I didn't want to keep it a secret. I just didn't know how to tell them. They've been emotionally abusive for years, so of course, I was terrified of sharing something this big with them. When I was heading to my girlfriend's house on Saturday morning, my mom came into my room screaming at me. She said I'd made a fool of her, disrespected her, and hurt her and my dad's feelings. But the day before, she had said, "It's okay, I'll be fine after a while. I still love you." Now I'm being gaslit and ignored, all because I came out. I'm 22. I don't know if I want kids or marriage yet. I just want to live my life before I settle down. But I'm barely coping in this house where I don't feel welcome. Story 42. I can't sleep. I have a test tomorrow, and I'm not talking to my best friend. I think he's been busy, but I also messed up big time and said some hurtful things that I probably should have kept to myself. But holding in all those bad feelings was killing me inside, and they just burst out. I told him I'd give him space, but honestly, I think I need the space more, to process and feel my hurt privately. I feel so isolated and lonely, even though I live with 4 other people. I'm good at making friends, but terrible at keeping them, because I never initiate conversations or plans unless someone else does, except with my two closest friends. I'm not motivated to finish my end of semester papers, and I'm terrified of disappointing my mom and family who are paying for my education. I don't know what's wrong with me. Even the thought of calling my grandparents gives me anxiety. I don't know what to say, and I resent the pressure to reach out. They haven't done anything wrong, but I'm not close with them, and it feels awkward. Then I'm shamed for not being a good granddaughter. I think about Suik all the time. I just want to disappear. My life isn't as bad as some, and maybe I'm just whining, but I feel like a worthless sack of she with no purpose. Tomorrow is my first therapy appointment, and I want to look into medication as part of my treatment. I feel like a terrible person, and I just want reliable human contact and company. I miss my family back home. I hate it here at school. I hate writing papers. I hate my roommates who only care about themselves. I've never felt so alone and isolated. I'm trying to hold on to hope for my family's sake, but I just want to die. I don't feel like my life is worth anything. I'm just a whiny English major who likes to write poetry. Where is that ever going to take me in life?